Hello there, very good Thursday evening to all our viewers. This is Primetime News and Joel Outskun together with our interpreter Taraka Gabriel. Let's start off with a look at our headlines for today.
President attends parliamentary sessions. The Prime Minister did not refer to the burial of COVID-19 victims. An SLPP parliamentarian tells the media. Cardinal prepared to seek international support if due justice is not served over April 21st attacks. Colombo Stock Exchange drops to record lows on 2 occasions today.
Starting off with our top story this evening, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa attended the parliamentary session that took place this morning.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa arrived in the parliamentary chamber along with Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa today. The president has remained in parliament for about an hour. This is the 4th occasion in which President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has attended sittings since the inaugural session of the new parliament.
A government parliamentarian has said that the Prime Minister had not referred to individuals who die of COVID-19 during yesterday's remarks, stating that burials would be allowed in the country. But the remarks made by the Prime Minister in Parliament yesterday have drawn praise from the international community, including the Prime Minister of Pakistan.
He did
not refer to individuals who die of COVID-19. MP Marikar questioned whether the bodies of the deceased can be buried. He then said that the bodies can be buried. The President or the Prime Minister cannot announce a decision on whether the COVID-19 deceased can be buried. There is a specialist committee on this.
Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan had welcomed the statement made by his Sri Lankan counterpart on allowing burials for those who die of COVID-19. Foreign media too reported that the government has agreed on this decision. But during a media briefing of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, you are denying such a statement.
The Prime Minister only referred to the burials of ordinary deceased and not those who die of COVID-19.
Views were expressed in Parliament on this matter today as well.
Yesterday, the Prime Minister said that burials would be allowed in the country. As the subject minister is in the House, we wish to question as to when a gazette would be issued on this matter.
Decisions of the Health Ministry are not taken personally. These decisions are made through a technical committee. We have to put forward this proposal before the committee. We will have to take the relevant action based on the decision of this committee.
Such an issue now repeatedly going back to the so-called expert committee, which is full of people who are pseudo-scientists, is not going to solve this problem. The Honorable Ali Sabri knows that all Muslims on both sides have been agitating for this, and finally the Honorable Prime Minister has given a solemn undertaking in this House. What more than that? The words of yeah. And he very clearly said, so now it is up to the authorities in the health ministry, who is better than the Prime Minister to make a decision on behalf of the government. But who are these so-called experts in the health ministry who is blocking this, unfortunately creating unnecessary racial tensions in this country? And we are dragging this whole country into a total abyss by this conduct. Right. I implore and I plead that the government must not drag their feet on this issue, and this issue has already gone to Geneva as well, and we don't want that to happen. None of us want this to happen to this country. So therefore, please take a very mature and considered decision, and don't insult the Prime Minister for God's sake.
In a tweet published last evening, Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan said he welcomes the assurance given by Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa that Muslims who die of COVID-19 will be allowed to be buried in the country. US Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Elena B. Teplitz, also tweeted that she welcomes the media reporting on the announcement made by the Prime Minister on ending the mandatory cremation policy. Taken to a Twitter handle, UK Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Sarah Halton, said that she welcomes Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa's announcement on the burial of individuals who die of COVID-19.
ගරු කතානායකතුමා මේක රීති ප්‍රශ්නයක් නෙමෙයි කියලා බාධා කරන්න උත්සාහ කරා. නමුත් අග්‍රාමාත්‍යතුමාට
The speaker tried to interrupt the question, saying that it was not related to ethics. Although the Prime Minister could evade the question, he stood up and said that the response to my question would be that burials will be allowed. If that is the case, what was the question that I raised? My question was whether burials would be allowed for individuals who die of COVID-19 based on the scientific fact that the coronavirus does not spread through water. The Prime Minister then responded that it would be allowed. That would mean that those who die of COVID-19 can be buried. People who die of other reasons can be buried in the country even at present. Therefore, I contacted the Hansard Department of the Parliament this morning. According to the unedited video and audio recordings of the session, the Prime Minister had said that individuals who die of COVID-19 can be buried instead of being mandatorily cremated. The UN Human Rights Council sessions are due to take place this month. We cannot allow this statement to be used as a tool to obtain the support of Middle Eastern countries. Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan is also due to visit the country on the 22nd. We cannot allow this statement to be used as a tool to deceive us until he leaves the country. This message has already reached the international community.
වගේම ලබන 22 වෙනිදාට පාකිස්තානු අග්‍රාමාත්‍ය ඉම්රාන් ખાන් මැතිතුමා එනවා. එතකොට එතුමා ඇවිල්ලා යනකම් කරපු මුලාවක් වෙන්න දෙන්න බෑ. මොකද මේක දැන් ජාත්‍යන්තර දෙරට ගිහිල්ලා ඉවරයි.
Representatives of 6 constituent parties of the government convened a meeting under the patronage of National Freedom Front leader Vimal Weerawansa today.
The meeting had taken place at the official residence of Minister Vimal Weerawansa at Malalasekara Mawatha in Colombo 7. Venerable Aturaliya Ratanathero from the Our Power of People Party, Minister Vasudeva Nanaikara from the Democratic Left Front, Pivithuru Hela Urumiya leader Minister Udaya Gammanpila, Sri Lanka Freedom Party General Secretary Dayasiru Jayasekara, Lanka Samasamaja Party General Secretary Professor Tissa Vitharna, Parliamentarians Tiran Alice, Uddika Premaratna and Govindu Kumaratunga were among those present at the discussion.
We discussed regarding the current political crisis and the consensus required when formulating the new constitution. That has been resolved. On the one hand, the Mahasangha stepped forward to resolve it, and so did our leader, Mahinda Rajapaksa. They intervened and resolved the matter. That issue is over. That division has been cleared. There are no divisions, only various opinions.
On the sidelines of an event at the Sri Lanka Foundation Institute, journalists questioned Minister Vimal Weerawansa on the opposition mounting against him from the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna.
It was Vimal Weerawansa who stirred up this crisis. Mahinda Rajapaksa is a leader who is close to us. He is a leader required by us. We believe that he is a leader required by this country. Therefore, if anyone is challenging the leadership of Mahinda Rajapaksa, we will not consider it, regardless of the individual who says it.
නායකත්වය පිළිබඳ අභියෝගයකට ලක් කරනවා නම් ඒ මොන තරාතින්ම කොනොත් අපිට ඒක අදාළ නැහැ. අපි ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂ මැතිතුමාට මේ පක්ෂයේ තනතුරක් හිමි විය යුතු නැද්ද? එතුමා මේ පක්ෂයට එකතු වීම පිළිබඳ
There is no problem in him joining the party. We would welcome him cordially to the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, but Mahinda Rajapaksa is our role model as a leader. The Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna will lose its value if not for Mahinda Rajapaksa.
Mahinda Rajapaksa මැතිතුමා නොයිටින්න ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොදුජන පෙරමුණක් නේ. විමල් වීරවංශ මහත්තයා තවදුරටත් මේ ආණ්ඩුවේ සිටිය යුතුද? විමල් වීරවංශ මහත්තයා මං හිත
Minister Vimal Weerawansa had refrained from speaking to the media this morning. I believe it is an indication that he must remain in the government.
ඒකේ යම් ඉගියක් දෙනවා එතුමාට මේ ආණ්ඩුව තුල ඉන්න ඕනේ කියලා.
මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ මහත්තයා මම දකින්නේ මේකේ
I think Mahinda is similar to the chief priest of a temple. We are only those who supported the religious event. There are people who recite poems. Just because the Prime Minister cannot recite poems, he will not refrain from conducting the religious event. He will hire a poet and get the job done, pay him and send him away. He will not hand over ownership of the temple to the poet. Vimal Weerawansa is speaking as if he wants the temple's ownership given to him.
මෙතන විමල් වීරවංශ මහත්තයාත් දැන් මේ පන්සලේ ඔප්පුව ලියලා දෙන්න කියන වගේ කතාවක් තමයි කියන්නේ.
Minister Vimal Weerawansa has expressed his opinion recently. We expressed our stance as the party. It was done with the intention of attacking him. This is not a political crisis. This is a civilized and peaceful mechanism that can be adopted in politics. Instead of commenting on it in various parts of the country, we expressed our stance at a media briefing.
අපි තැන් තැන්වල කියන්නේ නැතුව ප්‍රවෘත්ති සාකච්ඡාවක් පවත් අපි ඒ පිළිබඳ අපේ මතය කිව්වා.
Shashi Weerawansa, the wife of Minister Vimal Weerawansa, filed a complaint with the Criminal Investigations Department today. The complaint had been filed seeking an investigation into defamatory reports that have been published against her.
Me or my children have never been involved in political activities. The people have the right to criticize and monitor the political or personal conduct of politicians. However, it is shameful to witness their families being targeted. This has caused immense mental pressure for me and my children. So we have called for a swift investigation into this matter.
ක්‍රියාමාර්ග ගන්නවා කිව්වා.
එමතුමාගේ තත්ත්වය කොහොමද දැන් මොකද එමතුමා
ඒවා මගෙන් අහන්න එපා. ඒවා මගෙන් අහන්න එපා.
මඩක් ගහනවා.
ඒවා මගෙන් අහන්න එපා.
ඒ කියන්නේ එතුමා කලකිරීමෙන් ඉන්නේ.
මම දේශපාලනය කරන්නේ මම දරුවෝ දෙන්න බලන් ඉන්න අම්මා කෙනෙක් විතරයි. ඒකට අනේ මාව බේරලා ඕන දේශපාලන කටයුත්ත.
එහෙමනේ පොහොට්ටු නිර්මාණය කරේ එතුමානේ. ඇයි එතුමාට මෙහෙම කරන්න කියලා ඔබතුමී හිතන්නේ?
Well, you're watching Primetime News. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay tuned.
Do your online shopping now with Sambole.lk to get it home delivered or pick up on your way.
Sambole.lk.
Welcome back to the news. The regulations under the Import and Export Control Act issued by the government last year prohibiting imports were taken up for debate in Parliament today. The following views were expressed during this debate.
ආනයන සීමා කරලා තියෙද්දි ආණ්ඩුවේ ගජ මිතුරන්ට
The close aids of the government have been provided concessions at a time when there is an import ban. The reduction of the tax on sugar was done so that sugar will be made more affordable for the people. When the tax was reduced to 25 cents, they brought down 250,000 tons. The monthly requirement of sugar is only 45,000 metric tons. They have brought in an excess of 100,000 metric tons. Imports of other food items have been limited. Who earns these profits? It is the close aids of the government. They issue gazettes for sugar, reduce its price and do all sorts of things. They issue gazettes on tiles and cancel them the next day. Not even the Prime Minister is respected anymore. Yesterday, the Prime Minister said that burials will be allowed. Today, another parliamentarian has said that it is not allowed yet. We regretfully note that those within the government are disregarding the Prime Minister now.
රාජපක්ෂ මහත්මයාගේ නායකයෙක් අද අවතක්සේරුවට ලක් කරන්න ආණ්ඩුවේම කටයුතු කළා. අපි ආනයනේ සීමා කරේ රටේ ජනතාවට පීඩනයක් එල්ල කරන්න.
We limited imports not to burden the people but to benefit local manufacturers in the long term. There are factions who benefited from it. The President held discussions regarding it with local manufacturers, especially those in the tile and ceramic ware industry. Those manufacturers have promised the President to increase production by 2 weeks. This situation will resolve itself. However, if that does not happen that way, we will allow imports in limited numbers.
අවශ්‍යතාවය මත ආනයනය කරන්න ඉඩ ලබා දීම සිදු කරනවා. දැන් ඔබතුමා දන්නවා දැන් පෞගියදා අග්‍රාමාත්‍යතුමා අර ගැසට් නිවේදනය.
Last week, the Prime Minister issued a gazette allowing the imports of tiles and ceramic ware. But within 2 hours, the Controller General of Imports and Exports notified banks not to allow letters of credits to be opened. Why did such a situation occur? The Prime Minister is the Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Honourable Minister.
It was done based on a request made by local manufacturers. However, if the supply cannot meet the demand, we will allow for the difference to be imported.
ඒ වෙනසට ගැලපෙන ආකාරයට අපි අත්‍යවශ්‍ය භාණ්ඩ ආනයනය කිරීම සඳහා අවකාශය ලබා දීලා තියෙනවා.
According to Nasdaq, Sri Lanka's sovereign bonds tumbled 40% below their face value, signifying rising default fears. The Nasdaq stock market is a stock exchange based in New York, where it is ranked second on the list of stock exchanges by market capitalization of shares traded behind the New York Stock Exchange. The report has been compiled by Nasdaq together with contributors from Reuters and Morgan Stanley, multinational investment bank. The report said that Sri Lankan government's failure to extend a $400 million currency swap line with India and the apparent lack of appetite for a new deal with the International Monetary Fund has renewed worries its finances may not cover its upcoming debt bills. According to the calculations of the analysts at Morgan Stanley, Sri Lanka faces $4.6 billion worth of bond redemptions this year alone, plus another $500 million payment in January 2022. The report added that a tumbling currency, credit rating downgrades, debt to GDP levels nearing 100%, and almost 70% of government revenues being spent on interest payments alone have been the main causes of the crisis at hand. As a solution, the report suggested that the $1.5 billion currency swap line with China and gain breathing space if the IMF gets the green light to increase its special drawing rights.
I
would like to state the only alternative the government has is the International Monetary Fund. I will explain the reason. The CBSL expected to raise 40 billion rupees during the Treasury Bill auction on the 20th of February. However, only 13 billion was raised, which is only 40%. Therefore, they obtained it at a low interest rate, printed the difference and handed it over to the government. The printing of money only increases the demand for the dollar. Then, the US dollar increases in value against the rupee. Therefore, in order to manage the value of the rupee, on the one hand, we need to amend the interest rates. We only have 5,186 million in reserves. Over the next 6 months, we have to pay $1 billion in international sovereign bonds, $980 million in development bonds, $482 million in interest payments, and so on. The central bank report notes we need to make debt payments amounting to $6 billion over the next year alone. How are we going to locate the funds for these? The government says there is no issue because a swap facility has been agreed with China worth $1.5 billion and another swap with India worth $1 billion. However, although the next 6 months are managed through these funds, it cannot be sustained any further. The only thing we can do is to restructure the debt we obtained after discussing with our creditors. Like it or not, we are at a point where Sri Lanka's debt must be restructured. Delaying it further will only result in this crisis deepening.
ජනතාව මත බලපාන දේශපාලන සමාජ ගැටලුව තවදුරටත් විශාල වෙනවා. තවදුරටත් සංකීර්ණ වෙනවා. රුපියලේ අගය අද කෑ ගහනවා.
They heckled that the value of the rupee has depreciated from 195 to 200. They took it from 130 to 195 and handed it over to us. They handed us an economy with depleted reserves, one which has more imports than exports. They are blaming us now. Now they want us to go to the IMF because they are aware of what happens if we go to the IMF. We're embarking on a new journey today. We will not be constricted by the agenda of the IMF. This is a fresh journey. The restrictions imposed right now will not be continued much longer. Over the next few months, when our reserves and revenue increases, we can ease restrictions. We will not fall for the traps they set.
මේ අයගේ අපිට ලබා දෙන සමහර ලණු අපි ගන්නෙ නැහැ. මේට ඉස්සරනුත් ඔය ලණු අපිට දීලා තියෙනවා.
අද ඇති වෙලා තියෙන තත්ත්වය තමයි ණය.
The situation has worsened to an extent where debt cannot be obtained from neither the local or international market to settle other debts. Only 45% of treasury bills came from the local market last year. They attempted to raise $200 million this year from the Sri Lanka development bonds. They only raised 22% of that amount.
එකෙන් පේන්නේ දේශීය විදේශීය මුදල් දෙකෙන්ම ණය ගන්නවත් බැරි තත්ත්වයට රටපත් කරලා තියෙනවා.
රට උග්‍ර ණය බරකින් පෙළෙනවා.
Our country is choked by mounting debt. If you consider the figures, it's 15,000 billion or 15 trillion. The debt to GDP ratio is 98.8%. We are one of the two nations burdened with the highest debt to GDP ratio among middle-income nations. First is Lebanon, second is Sri Lanka. Lebanon is bankrupt by now. so we can understand that the other nation is at risk. What happened to foreign reserves? In 2020, they said $5 billion is the number. However, when our government was defeated, our foreign reserves were at $7 billion. We have our reservations as to whether they possess even $3 billion. That means the economy has collapsed, state income is disrupted, and foreign reserves have depleted. They have begun a process of printing money according to their own whims and fancies. If jobs are not created and the economy does not expand alongside the printing of money, it results in inflation. Cost of goods also increases.
Every government faced a financial crisis. The issue regarding foreign reserves was also prevalent. All those governments also printed money. The need for us to follow an economic path suitable for the nation is most important when considering opinions in our attempt to recover from this economic crisis.
We will pay off the entire amount of debt in 2021 in a way that is similar to what we did in 2020. He conceded that there is no cash flow issue in the country. How can the person who claims that the country is heading towards solvency admit that there isn't cash flow issue? Both of it should exist. Our economy is not performing as badly as the opposition claims.
Meanwhile, trading at the Colombo Stock Exchange was halted twice during the day today. Turnover at the Colombo Stock Exchange was recorded at 4.3 billion rupees today, the lowest since the 31st of December. The stock market halted trading twice during the day, the fourth time in 9 days, as the S&P SL20 dropped below 7.5%. Today, the all-share price index dropped a further 78.88 basis points, 1.02 lower than its previous close. The ASPI recorded its highest daily points drop in history on the 2nd of February, with a drop of 561.75 points within the day.
The CSC performs exceptionally against a backdrop where all economic indicators are showing negative trends. How is that possible? The previous dealers who have court cases against them for manipulating the stock market increased all the indicators of the stock market. They blew it out of proportion. What happened in the end? The bubble burst. They brought in gambling to the CSC. This artificial situation cannot be sustained. It has burst now. The large players have not been affected by this. However, those who invested 500,000, a million or even 2 million are at a disadvantage.
In more news this evening, the Hindu newspaper has reported that a petition has been filed at India's Supreme Court seeking the arrest of Sri Lankan naval personnel accused of killing 4 Indian fishermen in Sri Lanka's northern waters recently.
An organization based in Tamil Nadu had filed a petition seeking the arrest of the Sri Lankan Navy personnel. According to the report filed by the Hindu newspaper, the plea has sought a direction to the authorities to take steps to protect Tamil Nadu's fishermen and their properties from Sri Lankan Navy and to avoid such incidents in future. The petitioners have also sought a directive from court to obtain a compensation of 50 million Indian rupees each to the family members of the 4 fishermen.
A suspect wanted over shooting carried out on a team of Police Narcotic Bureau officers in Parliamentary has been arrested in India. Police spokesperson Ajit Rohana said that the suspect, identified as Mohammad Nawaz, has been arrested in Madurai. Mohammad Nawaz is facing charges over shooting incident that had occurred in Parliamentary on the 9th of May 2017. The suspect has been accused of conspiring and also aiding and abetting the shooting. On the 31st of January, Sri Lanka says that the Colombo Port's East Container Terminal will not be given to foreign entities. On the 2nd of February, Kimbulo Aleguna, a suspect wanted over an assassination attempt on former President Chandrika Kumaratunga in 1999, arrested with 4 others in India. An LTTE marksman was among the suspects. On the 5th of February, India requests Sri Lanka police for DNA samples to confirm the identity of Angoraloka, who was reported to have died several months ago in India. Today, Mohammad Nawaz, the chief suspect in shooting a team of Police Narcotic Bureau officers in Parliamentary 2017, arrested in India.
A father's love is protective and caring. Surrounding our motherland with the protection and strength of a father is our ocean.
The Sea of Sri Lanka.
Archbishop of Colombo, Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit, expressed his views on the investigation into the 2019 April 21st attacks during a media briefing which was held today.
I have requested a copy of this document so that we too can have a look at it and see whether we can be satisfied about the process and about their recommendations. We hope that we don't have to go to the international community looking for justice, that the government will render justice to our people, but if there is no other way, well, then we will be forced to look at other options, even including the option of going to the international field.
I feel that I cannot be satisfied with the investigations carried out by the Criminal Investigations Department. Since I felt that the investigations are being conducted for the sake of it, I have decided to resort to an alternative.
සිද්ධ කරන තත්වයක් පවතින බව මට දැනිච්ච නිසාදෝ මම වෙනත් විකල්ප මාර්ගයකට දැන් පිවිසිලා තිනවා එක කරුණක් සම්බන්ධයෙන්. ඒක ළඟදිම ඔබට දැනගන්න ලැබෙවි. ඒක මම උසාවිය හරහා කරන වැඩපිළිවෙලක්.
The leader of the Janata Vimukti Peramuna has questioned the failure to table the report of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry that probed the 2019 April 21st attacks in Parliament.
I feel that it is not just us as a political movement, but all citizens of this country have a justifiable right to know the contents of the report. During the party leaders' meeting, we requested for the report of the Presidential Commission that probed the attacks to be tabled in Parliament, but this has not happened in the 3 sessions that were held this week. There is one session tomorrow as well. It seems that they will not table the report in Parliament this week. We doubt as to whether they will table the report in the forthcoming sessions, as there is an opportunity to table the report in Parliament or publish it on the website of the government, the website of the President, the website of the Justice Minister, and even make it a public document. There is reasonable suspicion on why the government is trying to hide it.
Although the report of the Commission has not been tabled in Parliament yet, a local English newspaper citing reliable sources today reported that the Presidential Commission report does not recommend criminal charges against former Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe.
More news comes your way after this short break. Stay tuned.
Do your online shopping now with Sambole.lk to get it home delivered or pick up on your way.
Sambole.lk.
This is the news at 9. Attorney General Dapula de Oliveira has requested the Chief Justice to appoint a trial at bar to try Ravi Karunanayake, Arjun Mahendran, Arjun Aloysius and others in relation to the bond scam involving the Treasury bond auction of 29th March 2016.
The reason for seeking a 3-member trial at bar is because of the massive impact caused to the country's economy as a result of the offences committed by the suspects involved in the scam in a meticulous and organised manner, the injustice faced by primary dealers trading in the bond market due to this conduct, and also the massive losses faced by the government due to the steps taken by the Perpetual Treasuries Limited to amass profits unlawfully by altering the outcome of the Treasury bond auction using undisclosed information of the central bank. The incident drew heavy condemnation from the public on the central bank and tarnished the faith placed on the central bank by other primary dealers in the bond market. The suspects face charges under the Penal Code and the Public Property Act for misappropriation, committing fraud, aiding and abetting and conspiring these offences. The Attorney General has also produced facts before the High Court showing that the accused had committed offences under Section 56 of the Registered Stocks and the Securities Ordinance by hiking market rates for their benefit using important undisclosed information.
ඉහළ දැමීම සිදු කිරීමෙන් සිදු වරදවල් සම්බන්ධයෙන් චෝදනා පිළිබඳව තොරතුරු ගරු නීතිපතිතුමා විසින් මහාධිකරණයේ ප්‍රදර්ශනය කරන ලදී.
The Most Admired Companies of Sri Lanka 2020 award ceremony was held at the BMICH to recognize companies that are a cut above the rest in terms of value they create for their stakeholders.
In an exclusive gesture of appreciation, the ceremony presented a rare and distinguished recognition of Leadership with Distinction Award to General Shavindra Silva, Chief of Defence Staff and Commander of the Army, who graced the awarding ceremony as the chief guest.
To bring the desirable and desired control.
During the last year, you have relentlessly taken the efforts to prevent this country's economy falling to an irreversible level. Therefore, as the head of the National Operations Center for Prevention of COVID-19 pandemic, I would like to thank the commercial sector of this country on behalf of the people of our country, Sri Lanka. The businesses and the business sector has a significant role to play in time to come for the country's sustainable growth and for our country's development. The Sri Lanka Army bear the testimony for its usefulness with our higher effective Army Way Forward Strategy 2020-2025.
A lawyer showed up to the virtual court in the 394th district of Texas with a kitten filter turned on. The cat moving its lips and eyes. As Rod Ponton said, he and his assistant were attempting to remove the filter during the court case. Now, the judge later posted the snippet and wrote, "If a child used your computer before you join a virtual meeting, please check the Zoom video options to be sure the filters are off." This kitten just made a formal announcement on a case in the 394th. We leave you tonight with this footage. Take care. Good night.
I believe you have a filter turned on in the video settings. You might want to take
we're trying to. Can you hear me, Judge?
I can hear you. I think it's a filter.
It is, and I don't know how to remove it. I've got my assistant here. She's trying to, but I'm prepared to go forward with it. I'm here live. I'm not a cat.
I can see that. I think if you click the up arrow next